PreCalc. Hey, how'd the test go? Hopefully that you have improved your math scores with this test, and I will be finding out soon if that's true. It is the 11th, so you'll be watching this after the test on Tuesday, and it's called inverse trig. So 10, 11, 16, inverse trig. Functions, trig functions. Trig functions. Functions because they're fun. So let's look at the very first one. We have been used to taking the sine of an angle, such as pi over 6, sine of an angle, and finding out that the sine of an angle is a number. So how have we been doing that? Suppose we are going to take the sine of pi over 6. How do we get that number? It's an angle which has that forms a triangle, and it has the opposite over hypotenuse and it equals some number. So one of the ways we learned was the unit circle. So at pi over 6 right there, we saw that it was square root of 3 over 2 over the long guy over and the short guy up. So we had memorized the unit circle, and we saw that the sine was the second coordinate. So we would get 1/2. And we had also did that with special triangles. Pi over 6 or 30 had these special numbers associated with 30 degrees and opposite over hypotenuse, 1/2. So we've used special triangles and we have used the unit circle. So one way or another, we've got the sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. Well, we're going to reverse that, and we're going to say, what angle, I'll write it in words first, not much chalk here. What angle has a sine of 1/2? Oops. What angle has a sine of 1/2? That's right. So what angle has a sine of 1/2? You see how I'm asking it the other way. So here I gave you the angle, you gave me the number. Here I'm giving you the number and asking you for what angle that has that as its sine. Well, we can see because we just discussed it in the other direction. So the way we communicate that is we say sine inverse, and there's a little -1 written to the upper right of the word sine. Sine inverse, it's red, of 1/2 equals blank. Another way we could say it is arc sine of 1/2 equals blank. So that's the exact same thing. So what number goes into the blank? What angle has a sine of 1/2? Well, we saw that it was pi over 6. So we're thinking backwards. So in this case, we look around the unit circle and we would find that the sine, which angle has the second coordinate of 1/2? And it turned out to be pi over 6. So that's how you would do that. But then, is there another place where that happens? Is there another place where is there another answer that we could have come up with? Is there another answer to this question, sine inverse of 1/2? So I have a unit circle up on the board, or the other board here. So let me go use it. So hold on to your socks. All right. All right, so here's the unit circle. A little close. If I can zoom out. I cannot. Hold on to your socks. All right, There, that's pretty good. So, going around this unit circle, let's see if I can point and shoot. All right, going around the unit circle then, can you find another spot where the sine is 1/2? We already found this one, but is there another spot where the second coordinate is 1/2? Here's a negative 1/2, but I'm talking about a positive. Negative 1/2, up right there. There's another angle that has a sine of 1/2, and that angle is 5 pi over 6. All right, here we go, back to the other board. So, with that in mind, is there another answer to sine inverse of 1/2? I'd be tempted to say yes. There's another spot where sine inverse is 1/2. There's another angle that has the sine of 1/2, and it's true, it does. But we are talking about having fun and using functions. In a function, you get the same answer every time. So we can't have this be the answer sometimes and this be the answer sometimes. So what we do is we restrict where we can look for our answers for inverse sine. So to avoid not having a function anymore, we are going to restrict our answers for sine inverse to quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Those are the only two spots we are allowed to look, and we're going to define the inverse sine function as, we're going to define it between quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. So the way we say that in another way, and mostly when we have quadrant 1 and quadrant 4, this point up here is pi over 2. And this point down here, if we go in this direction, is negative pi over 2. So that's another way of saying that. So often you see it written like this. The y value is between negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. So all that means is you can go from here to here. So when we found 5 pi over 6 over here, it's not in the proper range for this. So you can only look in the first and the fourth quadrant. So y is in this range only. So that's how we solve the problem of inverse sine functions. So there's only one answer. If we're only allowed to look in the first and the fourth quadrant, the only place sine equals 1/2 is pi over 6. This function, inverse sine, so y equals sine inverse of some value x. Y equals sine inverse of x has a graph. So I'm going to assign some of you some charting to do so that when we come in tomorrow, we can get right up and put it up. So we will do uncommon vision. So that's Haley, Dan, and Maddie. If you would do this inverse sine function, if you would chart this for me, then we'll be able to graph it quickly. So x and arc sine of x. So x and arc sine of x. Remember, arc sine is a second way of saying sine inverse. So I'll interchange them. So I'm going to put in these values for x. Negative 1, negative square root of 2 over 2, negative 1/2, 0, 1/2, run out of room, square root of 2 over 2, and square root of 3 over 3 over 2, and 1. Let me stick another one in here, so hopefully you haven't copied it down, or you can squeeze it in like I am. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what you're going to do is you can look on your unit circle and you're going to look between the first and the fourth quadrants, here and here, and you're going to find the values, the angles that have these as their signs. So we already did one of them for you. What angle has the sine of 1/2? So the inverse sine, what angle has this as its sine? And the answer was pi/6. So I would like you to go ahead and finish the chart for these other values using your unit circle. And if you don't have your unit circle with you, remember how to draw it. All right, so that's that part. Next one we're going to talk about is going to be inverse cosine. All right, looking at that, I'll go ahead and make a second part so I don't get too long. It's hard to upload long sections. So I will see you in part 2.